All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. UFC Vegas 70 wrapped up last night, and thank God it did. I am trying to be optimistic, and I'm looking at these last two fight nights as the calm before the storm. Now it's over, and we've got a huge pay-per-view next week with a bunch of good fight nights coming up that some of them are not even at the Apex. Thankfully, I'm starting to honestly get a little bit sick of the Apex events. When they first started using it, dude, I was like a huge proponent of it. I loved it. I love being able to hear everything, the corners, all the shots clearly. I love being able to hear the trash talk. Like, the Apex gave us some good moments, but now, man, I feel like that place is almost cursed. And I'm also trying to remain optimistic and look at that main event falling out, which was, I think, the second in like the last month for Apex events, as an offering to the MMA gods that next week just goes perfectly and we don't have anybody, uh, canceling their fight last second due to food poisoning. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. We're going to recap that event. I'm going to give some thoughts on standout performances and things like that. But before we do, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's try and get to 200 in the next week or so. That'd be fantastic. I greatly appreciate it. I will thank you in advance. Thank you very much, because I'm Canadian, just like Mike Malott, I don't know. But anyways, let's get into it. So I'll go somewhat in chronological order. I am not going to go over every single fight, but I will, like as I said, go over some standout performances. Trevor Peek, bro, the guy who makes Bryce Mitchell sound like he's from the north of the United States. My guy, jeez. That was a savage finish, and this is going to be the first fight of that night that Kerry Hatley ref that I think, dude, that stoppage was god-awful. That made me so mad, man. I don't like complaining a whole... I know Herb Dean gets a lot of hate. I know that there's certain referees that, they get kind of shit on for their stoppages. I think that one was, like, god-awful. Like, that one was horrible, dude. He had been dropped with the few seconds left in the round there, and the only reason he wasn't flat on his butt was because the fence was behind him. He was kind of like in a back catcher's position where he was squatted right down. His eyes were looking at the mat, and both of his hands were down. He was not defending himself at all. He wasn't capable of defending himself. He was completely out of it. And that ref allowed Trevor Peek to land, like, I think 3 or 4 more hard shots before he actually called it, like, right at the bell, which it was the first performance from Kerry Hatley that made me angry that night. There was another one later on, which I think he should probably not ref again. Dude, that was horrible. But great finish by Trevor Peek, and goddamn, dude, he goes full inbred, dude. He's from Tennessee, okay? He sounds so goddamn southern, and those hammer fists from standing were crazy. Now, I don't think that he will make it to, like, the top of the division or anything like that, because but unless he there's quite a few holes in his game that he needs to square away before that could ever happen. But wow, man, not that type of, like, as soon as he smells blood, basically, like, he knows his opponent is hurt, he is just going balls to the wall, throwing anything he possibly can to get the finish. He's got a good killer instinct. It might be beneficial to him to rein it in slightly, which it sounds crazy to say, because there are certain guys who they just don't have that. But I think that's kind of they always say, like, oh, you can't teach heart or whatever. I think that's another thing that you can't really teach. You can't teach killer instinct like that, but you can sharpen it, hone it up a bit, and get to the point where he's not overextending himself, just throwing wild, like, crazy shots. Now, it worked in his favor in this fight, but, against better competition, it probably won't. So that was the first mistake that Kerry Hatley made, which was a bad one. That poor guy was still out of it when they were reading the scorecards, because Trevor Peek went to kind of, like, congratulate him, and the guy, he looked so out of it, man. And God, that bugs me. But anyways, Great win by Trevor Peake. Good performance. Man, some of the guys that come off the Contender Series are just so much fun to watch, and then other ones, it's like, oh, you know. So, anyways, I don't know if we had Mike. I'll just do Mike Malott or Malott. I don't know, dude. That was a great performance. I picked him to win. I didn't think he would get a sub, but he got it. It was good. That Johan Linnes is just not. He's one of those guys that came off of the Contender Series that is not amazing. Mike has shown some promise, however, and I like his attitude. He is like true Canadian, if you know any Canadians or you are Canadian, I'm sure, unless you are from Quebec, you've probably heard many Canadians take shots at the French Canadians, and they just don't seem to have the same kind of like niceness and politeness that you would expect out of other Canadians, I guess. And except George St. Pierre obviously is a big exception to that, but whatever. Perhaps it's just a language barrier thing, but I was glad to see Mike get the win. I like Mike, and great win. Good arm triangle. He, as he said, he didn't have to break his nose this time. He did get a little scratch on, I think, the right eyelid, but not much. Pretty much flawless performance. Great job by Mike Malott, whatever, dude. The Canadian, eh? Now, I'll get to Tatiana Suarez in a minute, but there was one more fight that Carrie Hatley was involved in that drove me absolutely nuts, and this was the Augusto Sakai versus Dante Mays, I guess. Dude, first of all, I noticed it during this fight, but I would imagine he does this in all of his fights. When you are the referee, right, and the round is about to end, you are absolutely supposed to get in between these two fighters. Because luckily we're at the Apex, but if you were at an arena and all you're doing is standing like 7 feet away saying, stop, if there's a crowd going crazy, right, and all this extra noise in the background, you're not going to hear that. You're supposed to get in between them so that shots don't land after the bell, right? You're supposed to jump in between, stop, end of the round type shit. He doesn't do that. He just stands back like he's watching the fight as a fan and just says, stop. And it's, luckily the fighters listened to a certain extent, but both of those men landed shots after the bell. Now, they weren't like crazy, punches to the head or knees to the head or anything like that, but I think they both landed knees to the body, if I'm not mistaken, like a good second after the bell had sounded. You need to get in between these guys. Like, that's not, you can't just stand back and let that shit happen, because then what if something did get out of hand and now you're 7-8 feet away from the action and you've got to run over there, and a lot can happen in like 1 or 2 seconds. As we've seen, a great example of this is like Jason Herzog's one of the best in the business, and obviously nobody, including Jason Herzog, was expecting Jorge Masvidal to knock out Ben Askren in 2 seconds, right? But the extra 3, because it was, official times 5 seconds, Jorge landed some big shots in that time to a fully stiff Ben Askren, and had, you gotta be fucking ready to get in between these guys, and that it's your job, and it's one of the only things that your job entails, so get that shit down. But besides that, Dante Mays was cheating that entire fight. I'm not exaggerating, he was cheating that entire fight, the entire fucking fight, and Carrie Hatley gave him maybe 1 or 2 verbal warnings, okay? The commentary team said that they saw the replay. He was absolutely sticking his fingers in the gloves, trying to hook his gloves. But not just that, he was grabbing the fence consistently. It wasn't like 1 or 2 times. He was grabbing it almost every time he had an opportunity to. So anytime he would turn Augusto Sakai in the clinch position, he would try to grab the fence, or would grab the fence. And then he also grabbed the shorts and was pulling them like it was so blatant. It wasn't hidden whatsoever. He wasn't pressed up against the cage. Augusto Sakai wasn't pressed up against the cage. They were kind of in, doing like circles a few feet away from the cage. So they were like in the process of one guy turning the other guy over. And he was blatantly pulling the shorts of Augusto Sakai. And God, dude, Augusto Sakai's got to keep that shit, above the gut line, because otherwise his gut pushes his shorts down. So he kept having to pull him up. And, he does it at the beginning of every round. But shit, dude, this guy he was pulling him fucking glove, cage, shorts. He's got hands. He's handsy, bro. He likes to touch shit and grab shit. And that's not cool. And it didn't matter because Augusto Sakai, beat the brakes off of him. And he looked almost as impressive as William Knight did last week. Dante Mays, that is. But I picked Augusto Sakai to win. A lot of people didn't. He did close as a favorite, so there were enough people that picked him, I guess. But in terms of people online, he had dropped 4 in a row. But as I said, the people that he had dropped 4 in a row to are all like title contenders or in the conversation for now being a title contender, right? Sergey Spivak, Tai Tuivasa, Alistair Overeem, and at the time this was fucking 3 years ago at least, maybe even longer than 3 years ago, but no, I don't know. Either way, a good competition. There was one other one there, and I can't remember who it was, but it don't really fucking matter. Great performance by Augusto Sakai. Gets back in the win column, and I love that he his post-fight speech where he's shouting, "Thank you for not cutting me," because a lot of guys would have been cut, and if the heavyweight division was had a little more substance to it, they may have cut him, right? Like if it was a different division, a guy on a 4-fight skid's probably getting cut, but they probably realized, the UFC that is, that we've been giving him, the cream of the crop, and he was relatively new to the game, right? Like now he's 5-4 in the UFC, but before that he's 4-4. So good win, back in the win column. Dante Mays is I don't know what the Mays cheater, okay? And Kerry Hatley did fucking nothing about it. That was to the point where you could have easily taken a point away from him, because had you been paying attention and given him a couple warnings, like he just wasn't giving a fuck. And when he was grabbing the shorts blatantly, like pulling them down, I literally saw the ref go like this, like hand wave. Once he had let him go, just went like that, lean back, hand wave. Bro, do something about it, please. Like, do something. The rules are there for a fucking reason. You're the referee. Don't just let a guy cheat over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's not fair. And then on top of the bad stoppage, like, guy, get the fuck out of here. This guy's like a Steve Mazzagatti. He literally is like acting way too casual, man. And you see when guys act too casually as referees that it can cause problems. I've seen it with Dan Miragliotta before as well, where he thinks he's like a part of the big fight. And it's like, you kind of are, but you also shouldn't be. Your job as the ref is to make sure almost that you don't need to be involved. You don't want to be separating guys. You don't want to be taking points away. You don't want to be doing this shit. We're not supposed to really hear from you. Unless something like this happens, then you're absolutely supposed to do your fucking job as the referee and either take a point or give a hard... At least separate the action for a second to let the guy know you do it again. I'm taking a fucking point. And a lot of people might not like that style of reffing, but I love that Mark Smith took that point away from that guy. I don't give a flying fuck how close that guy's finger was to that guy's mouth, okay? First of all, he was grabbing like this, so I don't know that he could have gotten a very good, like, hook on him. We couldn't see because of the camera, so I'm not going to say for certain that he didn't have his fingers in his mouth. But it's one thing to, like, if you scrape your finger against a guy's tooth because you're trying to rip his chin out, right? That's one thing. And you probably wouldn't see a very hard bite mark. Like, it takes a certain amount of pressure for marks to show up, which means that guy bit his fucking finger, okay? And instead of biting the guy's finger, if he really is sticking his fingers in your mouth, you let the ref know. He's fucking fish hooking me or whatever. And that guy's got fucking scary teeth. I don't know if any of you guys saw him without his mouth guard on, but holy shit, my guy, he's got like big gaps. And if he were to chomp down on your finger, that shit would hurt. Now, whatever. That's besides the point. But Carrie Hatley did a horrible job last night, and I don't know that I don't know that I could ever say, like, off the top of my head, a night that he's done a good job. Like, he just seems way too relaxed in his job, which is a very fucking important job, and you are not like a fighter. Maybe you're friends with some of them. Maybe you're friends with Bruce and all the people that you work with and all the folks at the Athletic Commission, but fuck, bro, you do not want to be like Steve Mazzagatti, okay? And it was like almost that level. Not quite, but it bugged me, okay? Tatiana Suarez, great performance. Now, many of you are probably wondering why I asked in my thumbnail, is she on steroids? And it's funny because if I were to go and make a comment like this towards a male fighter, no one would bat a fucking eye. Okay? Nobody would. Like, Kamaru Usman's got acne all over his back. People called it out all the time. Nobody cares. Because it's a woman, maybe I'll get accused of body shaming. Who fucking knows? And then she goes and says that she's fucking autistic after the fight, too. So it's like, now you're making fun of her, you know, for this one particular thing. But she also happens to be autistic. So you're kind of, you know, I'm body shaming and I'm being ableist, okay? But I'm not going to actually be ableist. But it's just like, it's a fucking other shield that she can throw on besides the fact that she's a woman. Go back and watch that fight if you did not notice. She has, and fuck, man, I hate doing this because but here's the problem. When I was 12, okay? So when I was 10 years old, I was a little fat kid. And I used to get made fun of a little bit. So I started lifting weights at 10 years old. And by the time I was 12 years old, I was fucking shredded. Okay, we're in elementary school still. I was I was freakishly shredded for someone who was 12 years old. And I also had a pretty rough puberty in terms of fucking acne. So I had acne all over my back, okay? And then, instead of getting made fun of for being a fat kid, I was getting made fun of because everybody thought I was on fucking steroids because I was shredded and I had acne all over my back. And people were like, Jesus Christ, your parents put fucking steroids in your breakfast and shit? And I'm like, no, you assholes, you made fun of me for being fat, so I got shredded. Like, what the fuck, you know? And then in grade 8, I still had some of that acne, and I don't know if anybody can, like, you know, fuck, I can't think of the word. But if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Okay. In grade 8, we had what are called peer tutors for certain classes where you've got guys that are in like grade 11 and grade 12 and shit like that who come and help your teacher out. They're like free fucking teacher's assistants essentially. And I had 2 in PE class. One of them, big native dude, and he was not happy because we were in the weight room and I outbenched him, and he was fucking pissed that a 13-year-old was outbenching him and he was 17. And when we went back into the change room and I went to go put my like normal clothes on, I took my shirt off and turned around to go into my locker, and then he saw that I had acne all over my back, and then he started making fun of me, and I went, for fuck's sakes, guy, you're just mad I lifted more than you, like, get fucked. But I had a good excuse. I was going through puberty. I was a fucking young teenager, okay? And then it cleared up. So from time to time, I'll get a fucking, you know what I mean? Everybody does. But Tatiana Suarez, her back made Kamaru Usman's back like look fucking clean, my guy. Especially her left shoulder blade area. Like all here. Holy fuck, guy. And again, I'm not trying to like fucking body shame or whatever the fuck. That's what some people will say. And only because she's a woman. But just because she's a woman does not mean she can't be on fucking steroids. And I will also say this, and then people will call me a dick for fucking making fun of her body again, but I'm not. You know what else is annoying as shit, dude? I said to my wife when we were watching, I said, you know, I'm like, it's also weird because it's more likely that a man would have back acne than a woman. And she wasn't sure if I was right on that, so I looked it up. And I was right. But the part that pissed me off is Google says people who are assigned male at birth. And that it can go to all genders and sexes can have that. Fucking shut up, dude. Men is what you mean are more likely to fucking get back acne, okay? Done deal. Also, something that women are more likely to have are hips that are fucking wider than their shoulders. Now, I understand we're in a hyper masculine sport, and there's probably some ladies who've got extreme levels of testosterone. But even if you look at a chick like Amanda Nunes, or if you look at a chick like fucking Chris Cyborg, their shoulders, while broad, are proportional to their hips. Like, they're almost in line with each other. Typically, females, women, their hips grow wider than their shoulders. Men's shoulders grow wider than their hips. This is the way biology works to, like, help you fucking prepare for childbirth or whatever the fuck. You know? Tatiana Suarez has, like, 2 inches on either side. Her shoulders stick out way farther than her fucking hips, which is just another indicator of, like, I guess testosterone, like her hormone levels growing up. And dude, she looks like she could be on steroids. And people are gonna fucking shit on me because she's a woman. But like, you can be a dude. Chris Cyborg took all the steroids in the world. Okay, just because you're a female doesn't mean you're not gonna try and get a edge in performance enhancement. Now, maybe she's just a very unfortunate, homely lady. Okay. I saw some people in the comment sections of some Instagram posts saying that she was like a smoke show, and I was like, well, okay, if that's your thing, guy, that's all right, to each their own. But like, to me, she's very like homely looking and big, broad lady, and has acne all over her fucking back. And I'll just say this, dude, if that was a male fighter in there, the accusations of steroids would have been insane. All night on Twitter, there would have been people posting about it. There would have been people making YouTube videos about it. Is this guy on steroids? Is he? You know what I mean? But because it's a woman, that shit just slides, and nobody wants to make fun of a woman's body. And I'm not trying to make fun of a woman's body. I'm trying to point out that there's clearly some sort of imbalance, which is not typical for somebody who's like in adulthood. Especially not somebody who's in like peak fucking condition, you know what I mean? Like, if she had a horrible diet and was like morbidly obese, then I'd be like, okay, well, that makes sense because she's, you know what I mean? But she's not. She's in good shape, and she's a fucking professional athlete, and she also has acne all over her fucking upper back, and her shoulders are also way broader than her hips. It's strange. Okay, now I'm not taken away from her performance. That was a good performance. I honestly started getting a little concerned for her. I thought that maybe the time off was too much, or that the sport had evolved since she had last fought, because it had been a good while. So I thought maybe, I don't know. And I can't stand when commentators do this shit, man. They continuously praised her as if she was like taking a huge step up in weight, as if it was like something that like Volkanovski did when he fought Islam. And it's like, no, she is a weight bully at 115. That lady was not fucking smaller than her opponent by any metric other than her cup size. Because De La Rosa's stacked. Like, insanely stacked. Dude, I remember Jessica Andrade last week was saying that she only lost because of a fucking, a wardrobe malfunction. Is that what they say? I was watching and I'm like, fuck me, dude. There might be one, because, like, they're so big. They look like they want to pop out. And if she just, like, if they initiate in the clinch and, one could just fly out. It would suck to have big tits like that if you wanted to be a fighter anyways. They just get in the way of fighting. It was a good performance, though, by Tatiana Suarez. I wouldn't consider that going up in weight. I would consider that her fighting at, like, her probably more natural weight class. She says she wants to go back to 115. Fucking okay, dude, go ahead. I would love to see Zhang Weili versus her, actually. That would be fun. But I'm kind of choked because her versus Erin Blanchfield would have been that would have been an intriguing matchup just because of the grappling abilities of both of them. And I don't think she's fucking undersized for 125. I don't know why she feels the need to go on a huge weight cut. Maybe she just thinks that it'll be easier to win a title at strawweight because of the styles of the ladies who are at the top of the division of strawweight. Who knows? But good performance by her. Nice choke. De La Rosa looked like she was about to pop her head out for a second there, but she couldn't. And, done deal. Good job. Steroids or not. So, don't shit on me too hard for that take. Dude, she literally looks like she's on fucking, again, I ask you, if that was a male fighter, there would be, you would probably have some questions, okay? So, let's just move on. Now, the main event that was supposed to be the co-main event, I picked incorrectly. Because, apparently, that fight literally had me speechless, man. Because Muniz, whatever the fuck, dude. Andre Muniz was outstriking Brendan Allen, which is what I didn't see that coming whatsoever. I thought that if Brendan Allen did have a way to win, it would be on the feet. And I actually picked this fight so incorrectly because I said that Brendan Allen, the problem for Brendan Allen is he likes to finish dudes on the ground, and that he probably wouldn't be able to finish Andre Muniz on the ground because he's such a good high-level grappler who breaks people's fucking arms like Jacare. And so I said, I don't know that he'll be able to implement the game plan that he usually wants to implement, but he showed us that he is fucking on his level, guy. And here's the thing, too, a lot of those arm bars come from off his back. Brendan Allen's pressure was so strong that Muniz could get nothing going off his back. Nothing. Not at all. Not retaining guard, not fucking sweeps, no nothing. Brendan Allen's chest pressure and shoulder pressure are so good that he could do nothing off of his back. So much so that his corner even said, going into the next round, don't go for a fucking takedown unless you are absolutely sure that you can get it. And what they meant is not get it to the mat. They wanted him on top, which I thought was crazy because if you go and look at all of his submissions, a majority of them, come off of his fucking back. And then for Brendan Allen to sub his ass. Now, the commentary team was driving me a little crazy during this fight too. I thought Andre won the first round based on striking, and then I thought Brendan Allen won the second round. They were acting like Allen won 2-0 easy, which I thought was strange. I thought Muniz was landing way better shots on the feet. Now, they weren't really having much of an effect on Brendan Allen because apparently his chin's made of fucking iron or something, but yeah, man, that was a good fight. It was all right, actually. I was upset that the main event fell out, obviously. That was unfortunate. I was excited to see that fight, but again, that was an offering to the MMA gods. So hopefully they like our sacrifice and they let 285 go off without a hitch, right? The calm before the storm is over. The storm has officially begun. And next week will be a fucking shit show. And I'm so excited. I'm so looking forward to it, man. And then think about the fight nights we've got coming up. We've got Piotr Jan versus Merab Dvalishvili, Aljamain Sterling's boyfriend. Okay. And then we've got Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Vera. And we've got some banger fight cards coming up next. Fight nights and pay-per-views. I am so stoked, man. And I'm going to go do some research for my picks video on UFC 285. That will probably come out in the next day or so. So, yeah, those are the main, storylines or standout performances to me of UFC Vegas 70. Kerry Hatley should be fired. Tatiana Suarez might be on fucking juice. Mike Mallet, whatever. Good finish. Good Canadian. Good proper Canadian, eh? And Trevor Peake makes Bryce Mitchell sound like he's from Seattle or some shit. So, yeah. All right. picks video probably coming out the next day or so, 2 days maybe. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll thank you in advance because I'm Canadian, like Mike Mallet. I want one of them. I want one of these Canadian fighters to walk out with that flag. I would be so fucking happy because you're not allowed to walk out with country flags anymore. Which is unfortunate, but this ain't a country flag. I mean, you could argue this is like Western Canada's flag, but you know, it'd be cool to see one of them do it. I would be stoked. But anyways, like and subscribe. I will see you at the next video. See you later.